Hello, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Today, I'm going to be talking about a case that I believe needs to be talked about more. And if you haven't heard about this case, I believe that you should hear about this case. So, today, I'm going to be talking about Tamla Horsford. Her death was ruled an accident, but a lot of people, including myself, do not believe that she died in accidental death. So first, I'm just going to start off telling you about Tamla Horsford and getting into the story. So when Tamla Horsford passed, she was 41 years old. She was described as a very kind, warm, and energetic person. She was known as someone who would make anyone feel welcome, make anyone not feel awkward, even if she had just met you. She made you feel comfortable. And she's also described as someone that had very high energy, just loving, and always smiling. So that's one thing I just want to get that out there so everyone can kind of hear about her personality and why she was loved by many. So she was born in St. Vincent in 1978 and moved with her family to the United States in 1989. She met her husband, Leander, in Florida. He had a daughter from a previous relationship who, of course, Tamla, as his wife, raised as her own daughter as well. The couple did end up having 5 sons together, and eventually they moved to the state of Georgia for Leander's job, of course. So in the fall of 2018, the couple was very excited because the daughter was going to be having their first baby. So, they would become first-time grandparents. They were excited for this, but because of what happened in November of 2018, Tamla was never able to meet the baby and never ever to experience that grandmother experience that she would have been so great at. So in November of 2018, she was invited by a friend to a slumber party / birthday party. So the birthday party was going to be at Jeanne Meyer's house, and they were all football moms, so they knew each other because their children played football, and there was going to be a football game on that night as well, Alabama versus LSU, which they're rival teams, so it's a big game, big football game. There were football moms. It was going to be a birthday party. Instead of going out, they were going to stay in, and it was going to be a sleepover because there was going to be drinking involved. Some of the ladies at the party have documented DUIs, so they were saying, they wanted to have it be a pajama slumber party so people would not drink and drive. Allegedly, the invite was sent out via Evite on Facebook. I haven't seen that part of it confirmed, but it was supposed to be a low key event with food, drinks, football. It's supposed to be an all women's party. So, I believe Tamla arrived the latest to the party because she was making a casserole for her family, her husband, and kids. So most of the people, the party was to start at 7. Most of the people arrived shortly after 7, but Tamla didn't arrive until maybe like 8 something. Um, Her husband stated in it that Tamla did not want to go to the party, but she was one of those, a people pleaser in a sense. Not that she didn't stick up for herself, but to make the more so she went to support them in a way. Like, hey, I don't necessarily want to go out to this party, but um, she wanted that person to feel celebrated, so she went to the party instead of just staying home. She had purchased a bottle of tequila. Again, this was a birthday party that they were going to, so that was going to be her gift to the birthday girl. I believe she had purchased this bottle while she was in Mexico. So it was an imported bottle, special tequila bottle. This is something that's brought up a lot about this party, which I'm not sure why. To me, it's kind of bizarre, but it's something that the attendees of the party make a big thing about her bringing this tequila for some reason. She was in pajamas for the slumber party. She was in a onesie that had paw prints on it. And this is another thing that I find odd. It's a slumber party. Well, this is one thing that I just find odd. It's a slumber party, and she's one of the only ones that was like in pajamas. She was in a full-on onesie, like she was ready for this slumber party. And some of the other ladies were like dressed up in jeans and like a nice shirt for a slumber party. I don't know. It just one of the things that sticks out to me that seemed kind of odd. She was the only black woman in attendance at this party. The area that she was in Georgia was a predominantly white neighborhood. So she was the only black woman at this party, which is another thing that sticks out about this whole situation. The party was stated to be bring your own BYOB, bring your own booze. She brought the tequila. It was supposed to be a woman-only party. However, one of the attendants' boyfriend, Jose, and another woman's husband decided to stay at the party, even though it's supposed to be an all women's party, which is another thing that sticks out to me is like very odd. So the party included 9 women and 2 men. Technically 3 men, but one of the men did not come inside the house at all. He only came and dropped off his wife and then came and picked up his wife. So it was like any other slumber party. The women were drinking, they ate food, they were watching the game. The women were on the main level while the 2 men were in the basement. So according to people at the party, Tamla was the only smoker at the party. This is another thing that the guests point out a lot and sticks out to me. The things that I say stick out to me, we'll get more into that after I'm done with just a general overview of what happened. But this was another main thing that they were stating. She was the only one that smoked, even though one of the guests stated that they were smoking marijuana, but they were saying she was the only one that smoked cigarettes. So she was going in and out of the house a lot is what they were trying to say, I guess. So, according to what happened, the two men, even though it's supposed to be an all women party, two men joined the women at halftime of the football game. And they were all going to play Cards Against Humanity. So, this is one of the things that they say might have been an issue that might have caused something to happen with the Cards of Humanity game, because the house that she was at, all of the people were they had politically different views, and she was one that would speak her mind of how she felt about different things. So if someone were to like cross the line in that game or something, maybe that is something that caused an issue. So that's part of something that might have caused people to be upset or not get along at the party. During the party, Tamla did FaceTime with her family. This is confirmed by her husband. And she seemed to be having a good time, enjoying herself. There's pictures and videos from the party. None of the pictures or videos that came out show her to be extremely intoxicated or in distress. Although there is one video with the stance that Tamla had, her husband knowing her says that she might have been upset at that point, judging by her body language and the way that she was standing. And another thing that her husband stated is that she could handle her liquor. She's from the islands. She did not really mix liquor. If she were to be drinking, she would pretty much just drink the drink straight up. And her sister said that no one ever saw her like extremely intoxicated, like falling over or anything. So she could handle her liquor. She could drink hard liquor, and she could handle her liquor. Like she would be good. She would be straight. So this is something that I think that should be known, that she could drink. She could handle her liquor. So even though this is supposed to be a slumber party, 4 people left at different times and went home. Just one second. I want to see if there's anything that her husband said that I did not input so far. Okay, yeah, no, I don't think I missed anything. Okay, yeah, so this is, the sister has said she's never seen her sister sloppy, drunk, and incoherent. This was a quote online. And she doubted that she would do it with people she was just getting to know. So Tamla only knew a couple of the people at the party very well. The other people, they like knew of each other, but they were just like acquaintances, through their children playing football. And her husband stated that during the football game, she wasn't sitting and chatting with the wives. She was up with a bullhorn cheering on her sons. Like, she wasn't chilling talking with them. She was up. Again, she's described as having high energy, energetic. She was up with her bullhorn, going up and down the field, cheering on her son. So a lot of these people were not, they knew of each other, but she wasn't super close to them in that way. So guests started going to bed around 1:30. Some guests had left before then. but Tamla was still up. According to how everything went, Fuller was the last person to see Tamla. She had said that they had tried it briefly. Tamla was in the kitchen eating gumbo, and that she had told her she had planned to go out and smoke a cigarette, and then after that she was going to head to bed. So Fuller's husband had came and picked her up. Fuller said that Tamla had walked her to the door and given her a hug, and that was the last person to see her alive, according to what was stated by everyone. And so at this house, there was a security system. There was camera, and then the house owner would get notifications of when the doors were opening or when the garage was opening. And during this time when Fuller had left, there was a lot of pings of the door opening and closing and then opening again, and as well as the garage door opening, closing, and then opening again between 1:30 and 1:40 a.m. But no one has been able to explain why that was, which is very, very odd. To me, you have doors opening and closing like right away, and garage door opening and closing right away. Maybe Tamla was trying to get out, but she was being closed in. And I find it very odd that no one that was there can explain why this happened. So around 8 something the next morning, Lombardi, this was Myers' aunt, she said she woke up and went to make her coffee in the basement, and she saw something on the ground in the backyard. And when she went out there, it was Tamla laying face down. And it was said that her first reaction of seeing her laying face down into the ground was to pray, which is just extremely odd to me. Now, for me, I know if I were to wake up in that situation, I see someone laying on the ground, my first instinct would not be to sit down and pray. My first instinct would to try to see if that person had a pulse, if they were breathing, get on the phone, scream, call 911. It would not be to just pray. Like, that is extremely, very, very odd, strange as heck to me. So then, I guess after her prayer, she went to wake up Myers and Barrera, which was one of the guys that was at the party, he's a pre-trial something, so he's involved in law enforcement. So when she went to go in the house, knock on the door to wake up Myers, she said she approached the door and she thought she heard water running. So she went back downstairs and waited several minutes before knocking on the door. Now, does this not sound extremely odd to you? Someone is laying face down in the grass. You have no idea what's going on with them. Your first instinct was to pray. Your next instinct was to go and knock on the door to wake someone up, but you thought you had heard water running. So you stopped and went and sat down somewhere and then you, for a few minutes or whatever, and then you went on the knocked on the door. So then once she finally knocked on the door, she told Myers that something was wrong and she needed Barrera, which was one of the two guys that was at the party. And her words were, something's wrong with your friend from the islands, which is what just so odd. Like, all of the actions that they took after, it's just so odd. So then Myers called 911 just before 9 a.m. and her and Barrera both spoke to the dispatcher. Now, the 911 call is on YouTube, or you can Google it. I do suggest that you listen to it, because for both of the people, Myers and Barrera, this does not sound like someone that just found someone on the ground and not sure if they have a pulse, not sure if they're alive. Doesn't sound like they're worried at all. It sounds like they're trying to get some type of story together even at that time. And you can also hear people chatting in the background, and it doesn't sound like they were worried about anything that happened at all. They didn't sound worried, didn't sound upset. They just sound very nonchalant on the phone call. And she said on the 911 dispatch call, she was like, Tamla's lying motionless on the ground in her backyard. But she didn't sound worried or distraught, nothing. And she was like, she was drinking, and it looks like, I'm guessing she might have fallen off the balcony. Even though there's a screenshot that she had posted on her Facebook that no one fell off her balcony. And then on the phone call, she also says she's not moving one bit. No, it wasn't her that said this part. It was Barrera who said this part. She's not moving. She's not breathing. She's completely down in the yard, stiff. So, like I said, please just listen to the phone call, because it just does not sound like two people that are worried that someone might be possibly dead in the backyard after a party. So the police had arrived like 15 minutes or so after receiving the call from the paramedic. The paramedics showed up, but the officer that was on the scene sent the paramedics away. Barrera, who's involved in law enforcement, who's trained in CPR, did not try to administer CPR or anything. Neither did the police officers. According to the reports, Tamla was pronounced dead at the scene 2 hours later. And this is another thing with the cigarettes coming up, because again, one of the main things the guests would say was that she's the only one that smoked. So Barrera had told police he found an unlit cigarette and lighter on the upper deck. So he was trying to suggest that she had went out on the porch possibly to smoke and then fell to her death. Now, when you see this porch, they said it's like 20 feet high, and how the railing is, it's not something that you can just like easily just fall over. Like, you would, from what I'm seeing, you'd have to like climb up to fall over. The railing is like high. You couldn't just be like and just fall down. And then from that height, I find it very odd that you'd plant face down. you'd fall and just plant face down. So that wasn't even the initial story. The initial story that the house owner had said was that they thought she had just walked on the flat ground on the grass and fell and died. But when they got to what her injuries actually were, that was pretty much impossible. And so they suggested that maybe she just fell off the balcony and died. But with the height of the balcony, it doesn't seem like that would be legit. And then with her injuries didn't add up to that either. The police did not collect evidence correctly like they should have. They didn't get fingerprints. They didn't get anything they didn't test like the bottle of tequila to see if she was possibly poisoned. They didn't get fingerprints on like the cigarettes that were smoking, because according to what was said, there was more than one brand of cigarettes. And if anyone knows people who smoke, generally they have a set brand that they smoke. And if she was the only smoker, why would there be two different brands of cigarettes? And then another thing I know is that even if you don't smoke, some people will, like, when they drink, they'll just smoke. Even if you wouldn't generally smoke every day. Your friend might be like, oh, you're both like buzzed, having fun. It's like, oh, you'll smoke a cigarette, even though you don't smoke on a daily basis. You'll be like, sure. Like, that happens. That's a common thing. But anyways, the police did not collect evidence like they should have. The medical examiner did not use a sexual assault kit on or collect fingernail scrapings. None of that was done. It was treated as an accidental death from the very beginning. It wasn't looked at as let's check every outlet to make sure that we rule the correct way. It was just, oh, they said it's an accident, so it's an accident, and they didn't collect evidence the way that they should have. So even though there was security cameras at the house, somehow magically what happened during the time that Tamla went missing was deleted. So there was cameras at the house, and if it went down like they should have, then it should have been on camera and they should have been able to view that. But somehow that footage was deleted. Now that's not suspicious at all, right? So the medical examiner stated that Tamla had multiple blunt force injuries that were consistent with those that would be received in a fall. But her injuries suggested otherwise. She suffered blunt force trauma to the head, neck, torso, and extremities. She also had a broken neck, dislocated wrist, and a laceration to the right ventricle. She had abrasions on her face and fingers and cuts to her arm and legs. So it did not seem like you would receive all that just from falling off a 1-story balcony, whether you were drunk or not drunk. The toxicology report revealed a blood alcohol content of 0.238, excuse me, almost 3 times the legal limit to drive. This BAC usually causes like blackouts, loss of coordination, and vomiting. Basically, it's equal to like 8 drinks, maybe a little more than 8 drinks, depending on your weight. But everyone at the party had stated that Tamla never appeared like she was intoxicated. So she wasn't like losing her balance or like stuttering on her words. She was speaking coherently. Tamla also had marijuana in her system, and she had what's the word? Oh, Xanax. I'm sorry. They were saying that she had Xanax in her system, but according to the reports, the Xanax wasn't in her liver, so that wouldn't it hadn't affected her. It wouldn't have affected her body yet. So it's like if someone had somehow forced her to have that in her system, if that makes sense. So the family's attorney, Ralph Fernandez, had concluded that homicide was a strong possibility and believed that the scratches and wounds on her were defensive wounds on her hands, which indicates that she was trying to, fend someone off. And the attorney also had requested autopsy photos, which he never received. And if you listen to what everyone was saying, they were just focused on, oh, she was drinking, she was smoking. It's just all really, really weird. So her husband stated that when he went to the viewing of his wife, that it basically looked like blackface. Like it basically looked like they had put shoe polish on her face to cover up everything. And he did not want his children to see what had happened to her and the way that they had her looking, because she was always, beautifully presenting herself. But when her son did want to come in and see, so he allowed him to come in. And when he came in, even through the blackface painting, he said that it did not look like an accident. It looks like there's more to it, going by the injuries that were on Tamla. And then if you go and listen to the police interviews as well with the people, it doesn't sound like an interview in a way. It sounds like friends chatting. And one of the hosts, Myers, had tried to give the police Dunkin' Donut gift cards. And they actually did put in the report that they stated to her they couldn't take the gift cards because it would look weird. And then the next month, in December 2020, you can see Myers with a couple of the other girls with literal Dunkin' Donut face masks on. And it says like hashtag if you know, you know. It's all that's just so freaking odd. She was trying to bribe the detectives with Dunkin' Donut gift cards. Stranger than fiction. So you have people leaving at different hours in the morning. You have the 911 call. Doesn't sound like two people distressed over finding someone dead. Sounds like they're already trying to make up stories as to why she's dead. You have someone trying to bribe the detective with Dunkin' Donut gift cards. You have the inconsistencies with her actual injuries on her body and what they're claiming happened to her. So the case was reopened in July, but then they just closed it again. Well, I wouldn't say that the case is closed. The GBI basically concluded that the same results, that it's an accidental death. At this time, the family and other people that have heard of the case would like for someone else outside of Georgia to get involved in the case, like the FBI. So I just wanted to talk about this case to bring more awareness to it. Hopefully, please comment if you have any thoughts on the case. Thank you for watching and have a great day.